What's going on, everybody? Well, after a very long wait, and I apologize for that, I am here with the Q&A for 500 subscribers. But we're not just celebrating 500 subscribers, because the past couple of weeks my channel has skyrocketed. Now we're celebrating not only 500, not only 600, but 700 subscribers. Right now, in the recording of this video, I'm at 728. That is insane, and that is thanks to all of you. So thank you once again to all of you who have subscribed to my channel. You guys are awesome. Now let's get to your questions. All right. First one's from Rich. What is the best action movie starring a woman? I think I know your answer, and review that movie, please. Well, I got three answers. Terminator 2, Judgment Day, Sarah Connor. I think she's probably my favorite of strong female heroes. A very close second to that is Ripley from Alien and Aliens, and we're already doing those reviews if you've seen those, so kind of got your question answered on that one. And the third one, which not a lot of people mention, is Long Kiss Goodnight. And actually people, somebody from Killer Flicks, which I'll talk about in a little bit, actually reminded me of Long Kiss Goodnight, because when this question was asked, that was their answer, and I was like, of course, Long Kiss Goodnight. So Terminator 2, Alien, and Long Kiss Goodnight, all awesome movies and all awesome, strong female heroines. And I'm sure Terminator 2 will be a review I'll do eventually, maybe even Long Kiss Goodnight, but keep an eye out for the rest of the Aliens reviews. Ashley asks, what's the first movie and song you can remember being obsessed with? It's the best I've got so far. Alright, well, the first song that I remember being obsessed with, and this is when I was really little, was Achy Breaky Heart by Billy Ray Cyrus. I really liked Billy Ray when I was like 3, maybe 4 years old, but going into like a song that I was obsessed with that really kind of skyrocketed my obsession with music was Love's a Loaded Gun by Alice Cooper. My dad had this CD, Alice Cooper Classics. It was basically like a greatest hits, and I played that song on repeat for like weeks, and that got me into Alice Cooper, which got me into heavy metal and rock. And here we are today, fast forward to 27. So that's the first song I can remember really being obsessed with. The first movie I remember being obsessed with was, I don't remember which one exactly, but basically the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. I saw Child's Play 3. That's my earliest movie memory as far as seeing, like walking in and remembering my exact thought when I saw the screen. And then after Child's Play 3, I started looking at all these other horror movies, and then I swear from then until now, really, the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise is just constantly in rotation in my my movie collection and on my TV. So the first Nightmare on Elm Street and the third one are my favorites. So I'll say those two, but I watch basically the entire franchise just over and over. I just randomly pick a VHS with Freddy on it and throw it in when I was younger. So that franchise. Sean Chandler asks, I don't recall if I've asked you this one, but what is your Myers-Briggs personality type? So for those of you that don't know, that's basically like this personality test that's very famous. I took the free test online, so I don't know how accurate this is. There's one you can pay for, and screw that. But I took the free one, and it said that I am ISTP, which is practical and observant. It means I'm a risk taker, I'm resourceful and adaptable, accepting and non-judgmental of others, intelligent and excellent problem solvers. And 3.1% of the population are ISTPs. So hey, I'm part of the small group. Other famous ISTPs is Anna Kendrick, Ellen Page, Harrison Ford, and Steve Jobs. So pretty interesting there. He also asks, what do you do for a living? I'm in construction. I do what they call construction materials testing. So it's basically the first thing that ever gets done whenever somebody's planning on building something. So if there's an open lot or a demoed site or something like that, and they say, I want to put a building there, we go out, we do soil testing, we test the compaction, test the types of soils, look for environmental problems, stuff like that. So we're basically like the first wave that goes in before anybody throws any concrete down, digs any holes, anything like that. We're the first wave. So that's pretty much what I do. What would you like to be doing if differently? Anything? No. I mean, that's hard to say. There's not really any trade out there that I'm just so passionate about. I mean, I'm passionate about movies and music and, you know, stuff like that. So, I mean, if I could have a job in that industry, cool. I really don't have any training with that. As far as like a trade job, I've said this before, I really love to cook. So, I mean, I would like to have my own restaurant at some point. I don't know if that's ever in the cards, but that would be kind of like a dream job for me, is to have my own restaurant with my name out there, and I can create my own recipes and all that kind of stuff. So, I guess I'll say that one. That would be a lot of fun. And his last question, oh yeah, how long have you been an axe murderer? Shut the hell up, Sean. Damn. Can't tell anybody anything anymore. Holly asks, who is one person not related to you that made a huge impression in your life? Well, you got my two best friends, Zach and Sam, they've got a lot of impact in my life. Zach really pushed me a lot in high school to do a lot of things that I normally wouldn't do, as far as like, I was kind of more reserved in high school, and he kind of pushed me out there into the social circle, like, dude, go talk to her, or we're going to this party, you're coming. He was that friend. My other buddy, Sam, was very much a guy who kind of kept me grounded. He's in ministry and everything, so me and him always, whenever we get together, we always have these deep, thoughtful conversations and everything. So Sam's been a huge impact in my life. And we're not related yet, so I could still use you as an answer, Holly. You've been a huge impact in my life as well, for obvious reasons. So thank you for your question. That's a great one. Oh, you got more questions. One thing you wish you had the guts to do. I don't know. Rob a bank successfully. That's kind of a hard question to ask, because I don't really have too many problems having the guts to do things unless it's really stupid. Probably in the future I have the guts. If I have the money and the time and the resources behind it, having the guts to open my own restaurant. That's a good answer, and it kind of qualifies with, or kind of wraps up what I was talking about with Sean's answer. What would you do with $1 million? Buy a house with a studio room and a movie theater room, and then whatever you want to do with the rest of the house is up to you. One giant man cave section of the house. Karen asks, what is your biggest regret so far in life, and what is the greatest thing that has ever happened to you? That's another difficult question to ask, because it's like the butterfly effect. The biggest regret that I have in my life is the decisions that I made immediately after I graduated high school, as far as what college to go to, who to be roommates with, everything like that. It had everything pretty much backfired on me the first year I was in college. Like, every decision, every plan that I had in place to succeed just crumbled. And that may be pretty common. Once you get out there on your own, you just start to fuck up left and right. But it just that had a big impact on me, because I ended up having to leave college because I couldn't afford to stay there anymore. I've yet to go back. But at the same time, had that not happened, I wouldn't be where I am today with Holly and the kids and, the success that I am right now. So it's hard to say if I would actually go back and change those things, but that is the biggest regret. When they think about the biggest mistake you've made, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty up there, because I haven't made too many gigantic mistakes, but some of those decisions that I made, as far as who to roommate with especially, was just a gigantic flub. So that's my answer for that. What's the greatest thing that's ever happened to you? My dad, always being there for me, showing me how to be a man, kind of molding me into who I am today, and Holly bringing me a family and bringing me the thing that I've always wanted, is kids and a lovely woman at home. Just not to get too sappy, but that's basically the best answer that I can give you, because that's 100% the truth, is my dad and Holly. All right. Yuzuru asks, my question to you is, if you had to take just one horror Blu-ray to an isolated island with your family, what would it be and why? Oh, man. Oh, that would be horrible. I can't just nail down one, but I'll give you three that I would probably... It would be one of these three. It would either be The Lost Boys, or it would be Nightmare on Elm Street 1 or Nightmare on Elm Street 3 Dream Warriors. One of those three is going with that isolated island with me. One of those three. So, right. If that's too hard, you can select three, including non-horror films as well. Well, I just selected three, so there you go. I should have read the second part first. Lewis Hayes says, congrats on 500,000 subscribers, man. Thank you. Your top 80... He's got a few questions here. Your top 80s action movies and your favorite 80s action movie poster. Top 80s action movies, Die Hard, obviously. Lethal Weapon 2. I actually like the second one better. The first one's amazing, though. Commando. I know it's cheesy, but I've always loved that movie. Predator, which is the manliest movie ever made. And First Blood, the first Rambo movie. I think that one's the best of the entire franchise. I'm a big fan of John Rambo too, but just First Blood is incredible. And then favorite action movie poster. It's not among my favorite movies of all time. I do enjoy this movie, but it kind of, I got a hold of it later in life, so I don't have the appreciation that some people do for it, but I love the poster, and that's Escape from New York. That's just a badass poster with the Statue of Liberty's head back there, and then you got Snake Plissken in the front. Just such a cool poster, and it just embodies the 80s to me when I see it, so I love that poster. What is your 70s De Niro movie? Probably Taxi Driver. That's the only one, not the only one, but that's the one that I probably watched the most, and the one that probably had the most impact from the 70s, but he's got a ton of them. Top 3 Clint Eastwood movies. Okay, do not unsubscribe to me for saying this, but I have not seen very many Clint Eastwood movies. I'm ashamed to say it. I mean, the dude's got tons of movies out there. He had his whole Western thing, and then he's got tons of movies he's directed. I think the only two that I've ever seen all the way through, to be honest with you, is Gran Torino, which I loved, and Escape from Alcatraz, which I haven't seen in a long time, but is a really cool movie. So I guess I'm going to have to choose those two, but the other ones, I've bought some of them and I haven't even watched them yet. Like, I bought Unforgiven, I've bought $1 Million Baby, and a couple of movies like that. I just haven't had a chance to put them in yet, so I'm going to have to choose Gran Torino and Escape from Alcatraz and leave off the third one, because those are honestly the only two that I've ever seen, that, you know, front to back that I remember. Rocky or Rambo? Rocky. I love Rambo in First Blood and John Rambo, but I'm not a fan of 2 or 3. And Rocky stands for so much that I love and respect. You know, just that boiled down to it, it's just basically the American good-hearted hero. And that's basically what Rocky is. And in every movie, I mean, the middle ones got a little cheesy in the 80s, like 3 and 4, but the overarching story of that guy, especially the last couple of them, like Rocky Balboa and Creed, he just embodies strength and just fighting through everything, and do not let anything beat you down. And if you want it, you go for it. And just, I love everything that character stands for. And I think that is the character that Sylvester Stallone will always be remembered for. I mean, he's always going to be remembered for Rambo. And that's something to really attest you to how awesome Stallone is that he's got 2 huge characters that he'll always be remembered for. There's not many actors that can say that. But I think Rocky is probably the more prolific one, the one that he's been remembered for above anything else. So I'll choose Rocky. Favorite Schwarzenegger movie? Terminator 2. I love a lot of his older movies. I mean, Schwarzenegger, aside from Freddy Krueger, was like the best thing in the world whenever I was growing up. I used to just throw in that guy's movies left and right, especially the older ones. But Terminator 2 is just perfection. That's one of the greatest action movies ever, one of the greatest sequels ever. Everything about that movie is flawless to me. I mean, there's nothing you can do better than Terminator 2. I mean, I love that movie. So that's easily my answer for best Schwarzenegger movie. Metal Horror Pack. He's got a lot of questions too. Once again, congrats. Thank you. Here's my questions. What is your favorite gaming controller? Probably the PlayStation 4 controller. I know it's brand new, so it's easy to say that, but that controller is just so damn comfortable. You know, the DualShock kind of design has always been a little bit straining, the way that they make your hands kind of go off to the sides, and it's never been very ergonomical, and it was always made with really, you know, slippery, cheap feeling plastic. But the PlayStation 4 model, they honed that design to its full potential. They got it a lot more ergonomic, it's a lot more comfortable, nothing wears off on it. Like, even the little sticks where, you know, the more you play video games, the rubber just tends to move off and just kind of rub off with all your finger oils. Not the PlayStation 4 DualShock 4, so I love that controller. I'm going to go ahead and pick that one because that one is just a flawless controller to me. Have you ever heard of a horror film called The Prowler? No, I have not. Tell me about it in the comment section below. What was your first horror film that you ever saw? Well, I talked about it a little bit already. Child's Play 3. I remember like it was yesterday. I think I was 3 years old. I may have been 4. But I was walking into my apartment. You know, me and my dad were by ourselves. I walked into the apartment, and my dad was just starting Child's Play 3, and the very opening credits, whenever like they're taking the messed up Chucky pile of melted plastic from Child's Play 2 on that conveyor, and his blood drips into that little vat, and then the plastic mixes with the blood and it swirls down, and then the titles come, Child's Play 3. I remember seeing that like it was yesterday, and I was like, what is this? And I sat down and I watched the movie, and from that time forward, I was a horror fanatic. Like, Child's Play 3 is not the best of the franchise, but I've always enjoyed it, and it's always had a special place in my heart just for that reason alone, is because that's what got me into the horror movie fanatic craze that I've been in my entire life. So, Child's Play 3. What is your favorite Seether song? Damn, they got a lot of good ones. Seether's interesting because they keep their core sound, but they always seem to be kind of stretching to different styles, you know what I mean? And it's hard for me to pick my favorite song, but the one that I listen to the most now, probably because I like the song a lot. I didn't at first, but it's really grown on me and I love it. And I especially love the music video. It's definitely my favorite Seether music video, and that's Same Damn Life, because that song is just, it's got a great groove to it. It's a lot of fun, especially after you watch the music video, and I picture the music video when I'm listening to the song, and it just cracks me up. So I love that song, but Seether's got a ton of awesome songs. Check out that music video if you haven't seen it. And now we have a guest star. Alright, what is your favorite survival horror game franchise besides Resident Evil? Silent Hill, probably. I haven't played all of them, but Silent Hill, the first one, scared the shit out of me. I never played the second one, and it sucks that I never played it because everybody says that's the best one, but for some reason I just missed that one. And it's too hard to go back now and play those classic games for me. It's just awkward. You agree with that? Silent Hill, and the other one, even though it's not like on par with Resident Evil and Silent Hill, but it's the one that I had a lot of fun playing, was Dino Crisis. I remember playing that game a lot whenever it was on the PlayStation 1, so I'll say those two. Have you ever played The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker? No. The Breath of the Wild one, which I just reviewed, is actually the only Zelda game I've ever played, and it makes me curious. I wish that they would kind of re-release some of those, because I'd like to go back and check them out. I don't know if Breath of the Wild is just so awesome that I'm like, oh man, this games are awesome, and maybe the earlier ones weren't nearly as good. I don't know, but no, I haven't played the Wind Waker. Which ones are the best ones in the franchise to you? Is the Wind Waker the best one? Is that what you're asking? Let me know. Are you a fan of the movie Braveheart? Of course, I love that movie. That's one of Mel Gibson's best. I struggle with whether or not I like that or Hacksaw Ridge the most, because I love Hacksaw Ridge, but I mean, Braveheart's a masterpiece. Is there an actress that you have a crush on? Of course. I used to have a big crush on Mila Kunis before she got Kutchered. Olivia Wilde is gorgeous. Scarlett Johansson. The biggest one, actually, probably, as far as like a girl that I was just like obsessed with after I kind of latched on to her in a movie, and I don't see her anywhere anymore, and that's Alicia Cuthbert. Whenever I saw The Girl Next Door, I was infatuated with that woman. I was like, oh my god, that is the pièce de résistance of females. And I never see her anymore. I don't know what happened. Maybe the movies, that and House of Wax that she was in, just didn't succeed, and now her career's over. I don't know, but I was like in love with her for a while. Do you think Rob Zombie needs to stick with music instead of directing films? Honestly, I don't think he's overly successful with either one right now. I mean, don't get me wrong. Nothing but respect for the guy, because he's a smart guy, and I saw him live last year, and he puts on a hell of a show. So as far as touring, yes, absolutely, he is awesome. But I haven't been a huge fan of his newly released music since like Hellbilly Deluxe 1, and that was like his first big album. So I'm not really a gigantic Rob Zombie fan. Like, I love the guy, I love the concept of him, I love his showmanship and his attitude whenever he's on stage. He's a blast to watch. But as far as his actual music, there's a select few songs that I actually like. In his movies, there's like none. I mean, I like Halloween 2 more than most people, and I like elements of Halloween, but other than that, I don't like any of his films. Some of them I really fucking hate, like 31 I destroyed in my review. So yeah, I mean, I'd rather him stick with music instead of movies, unless he's going to let somebody else write for him and actually cast somebody besides a bunch of B-movie actors and his wife. I'd be curious, because I swear, even though I hate his movies, I think he's got a great horror movie in him somewhere. I think he's capable of it. We're just not seeing it. So if he can do something better, I'm more than willing to give him a chance in movies again, but I think he should stick with music. Did you watch Cartoon Network when you were a kid? Yeah, I did. I loved Johnny Bravo, Cow and Chicken, Dexter's Laboratory. Ed, Edd n Eddy I liked. I didn't love that one as much as everybody else, but yeah, I used to watch it quite a bit. Have you played Bloodborne? Yes, that was my favorite game the year that game came out. And I'd never played any of the Dark Souls games. A buddy of mine actually kept telling me to get Bloodborne and kept talking it up. And so I bought it, and after the initial like first 2 or 3 hours of just being confused, like, what the hell am I doing in this game? Because like, if you played a Dark Souls game or if you played Bloodborne, it just basically starts you and doesn't tell you shit. It just says, okay, go do what you gotta do. And it took me forever to understand what my objective was in that. But once I got into it, I was just infatuated with that game. I turned it on. Every waking minute I was home, I was on Bloodborne. I mean, it was just... And not only that, not only was it cool, and not only was it fun and interesting and challenging as hell, but the lore that was in that game is just fascinating. And you want to talk about hard boss battles. Like, the boss battles in Bloodborne, you'll rarely feel like the level of triumph that you will feel when you play Bloodborne and you finally beat a boss that you have died like 300 times on. So yeah, I love that game. So if you check it out, guys, if you have not played Bloodborne, it's awesome. And that was your last question. Thanks for all those questions, man. Ryan O'Toole asks, congrats on 500 subscribers, dude. Thank you, Ryan. Here are my questions. He's got a few too. Top 5 favorite superheroes. Batman's number 1. Deadpool. Wolverine, Spider-Man, and even though he's not a superhero technically, he is a comic character, the Punisher. I love the Punisher. So I'll say those. Captain America would be a close second if you don't want to count the Punisher. What is your favorite movie to watch whenever you have a sick day or a snow day? Probably horror movies, just because I enjoy them, and not everybody else in the family enjoys them as much as I do, so I kind of get to be in my own little world for a little bit if I'm home alone. I know you're a horror fan. Oh, yeah, I am. I know you're a horror fan, so if you could be any slasher killer, who would you be and why? Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, or Freddy Krueger? If I could be one, probably Michael Myers, just because he's the only one who's a damn human. I mean, Jason Voorhees is a zombie, and Freddy Krueger is a dream demon who's burned from head to toe, so Michael Myers, I could at least take the mask off and go hang out with people, so I guess I'll pick that one. Are you excited for the Power Rangers this week? Now, that tells you how long I put this video off, guys. I was. It wasn't a movie that I was dying to see. I wasn't freaking out about it. I wasn't going opening night, and that's why my review didn't actually get out. I just talked about it in my Good, the Bad, and the Awesome. But I was looking forward to it on the prospects that maybe it would reinvent the franchise and do something really fun with it. And I think it did. I think it was a lot of fun. My kids loved it. There were some issues in the third act, but I really enjoyed the movie. But I was really looking forward to it. If you could see any movie this year that hasn't come out yet tonight, what would it be? Except Star Wars Episode 8. Probably Justice League, because as much as it would suck to not be able to put a video out talking about how awesome it was or how horrible it was, as much as it would suck to kind of keep my lips shut until November, I just kind of want to get that movie over with to a degree. Like, I was looking forward to it for the longest time, but after all the drama and all the bullshit that's come out of DC and WB this past, 4 or 5 months, I kind of just want to get that movie over with, because I think everything that's leading up to Justice League and everything that happens in Justice League is not going to matter after Justice League. I have a sneaking suspicion that Ben Affleck is going to leave. You're going to hear it announced a couple of weeks or maybe even a month after Justice League is out in theaters, because they don't want the bad PR leading up to the movie. And they're going to reinvent this universe using the Flash or something like that, and they're going to carry on in a new direction after Justice League, and especially if Ben Affleck leaves. So I just feel like the story is not going to matter. So I want to see it to see how cool it is or how bad it is, get it over with, and then that way whenever all this news, what are you doing? That way when all this news comes out inevitably in December about how everything's going to change, it's not going to be that upsetting for me because I saw the movie now instead of, in November. Top 5 Arnold one-liners. Oh, God. How can you pick top 5 of that? That'd be a hard top 5 rundown to do. Of course, hasta la vista, baby. It's not a tumor. What's the matter? You pushing too many pencils from Predator? Don't disturb my friend. He's dead tired from Commando. Sully, you remember I said I was going to kill you last? Well, I lied. And then, of course, another one from Predator is, you're one ugly motherfucker. I love that. I mean, I could go all day with Arnold one-liners, but those are probably the ones that I think of first. So that's a good question. That'd be a fun top 5 rundown to do. So thanks for your questions, Ryan. Tyler Tompkins asks, if you went to max out your bench press one day, would you rather be spotted by Hanson from Scary Movie 2 or Michael J. Fox completely nude? Oh my God. Well, you know what? If I'm going to be teabagged by anybody, it might as well be Marty McFly. So I'll pick that one, I guess. Hanson's just too weird. I mean, he'd be trying to help me and be like, here's my strong hand. All right, Tom Cavler, congrats on 500. Thanks. What is your favorite horror and or comic book movie of all time? I don't remember if I've ever asked that or not. Thanks, can't wait to watch the Q&A. Sorry I made you wait so long. Favorite horror and comic book movie of all time. Favorite horror movie, I always say The Lost Boys. I mean, Nightmare on Elm Street 1 and 3 are very close seconds, but The Lost Boys to me is just so important to me because that was one of the movies that I just constantly watched as a kid. It's so cool and so fun and just so enjoyable to watch endlessly. I just love that movie. And favorite comic book movie, I just did the top 5 comic book movies with Durbin a couple weeks ago, and Captain America Winter Soldier was my number 1. Logan may overtake it as my number 1. I have to watch it a few more times and kind of let it marinate for a little bit longer than a month that it's been out. But I just love Winter Soldier. Everything about it. I mean, that's the best Marvel movie by leaps and bounds to me. That's the best superhero movie. I mean, it's so awesome with the action. I think it's gripping. I think the story is great. The villain is great. All the heroes in it. There's a great back and forth and dynamic between Captain America and Black Widow, and Captain America and Nick Fury. Just everything about that movie is incredible, and the Winter Soldier is just an awesome villain. Lee from Drum Dums asks, oh shit, where'd it go? Name a movie that was mentioned on Killer Flicks that inspired you to watch it. So that Killer Flicks that I was talking about earlier is a Facebook group. So if you guys like movies, especially horror movies, go check it out. It's basically just, it's a group of some of the most awesome people I've seen on Facebook. Like, nobody bitches at each other, nobody trolls each other, nobody talks shit over there. Everybody is just like cool friends, and it's just incredible that Lee was able to create that culture over there. So I love that group. Go check it out. And a movie that was mentioned on Killer Flicks that inspired me to watch it, specifically on Killer Flicks, was actually just recently, this past week. I watched The Void and I watched The Devil's Candy. Didn't end up loving either one of them, but they were still movies that I'm glad I saw because everybody was talking about it, and it was because there were so many people posting like, has any of you seen this? What do you think? What do you think? Now, two movies that you yourself, Lee, actually inspired me to watch on your Drum Dums channel. One of them was last night. I finally got all the way through it because I had to restart it a couple times. It was so late that I tried to watch it. It was Black Christmas, and that movie was creepy as fuck. Like, the sounds, like the phone calls and that guy's voice just creeped the hell out of me. I'm glad you said turn the thing up and crank it, because I had the surround sound all the way up and I had the lights off, and that movie is just atmospheric and just dreadful. So that was a really great recommendation. I'm glad I bought that. The other one was Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, which I said in my Off the Shelves video last month that I would never have given that movie a chance had I not seen you give such high praise for it, because I always heard it's such a weird tonal shift from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original. And it totally is, but it totally works. It's more of a horror comedy, and that one might actually be better than the original to me, because it was just so much fun to watch. It was gruesome, but it was just entertaining. Like, you've got Bill Moseley's character of Chop Top was just a lot of fun. I mean, it was just a fun movie. So I would have never given that movie a chance, but I bought it on your recommendation and I loved it. So 2 movies for you, 2 movies for Killer Flicks that inspired me. Guys, go over to Facebook, check out Killer Flicks, and check out Lee's channel, Drum Dums, on YouTube. It's a lot of good stuff. Darnell asks, do you ever see yourself falling into something film-related like directing or writing? I probably would never in a million years direct, because I have no formal training or experience with any of that stuff. Writing, however, another thing I never really talked about, I've always been a really good writer. Not to toot my own horn, but I was such a good writer that in high school, I could write essays on books that I'd never read and get A+ on them. And that's no bullshit. You can ask my dad. You can go and comment below, Dad, if you remember those. I used to do that. Like, there would be some book, okay, go read this. And I'm like, man, and that's part of the reason why I'm not a big reader, because teachers would just find the worst books to shove down your throat. I'd be like, man, fuck that book. I ain't reading that. And then all of a sudden, like, okay, guys, well, we have an essay test tomorrow. We're going to have to write about the book that you're supposed to read. Oh, shit! And then I'd go in and I would write so well and sound so confident that I would still get an A+, even though I did not know a single line of what happened in that book. So, and I've done some screenwriting stuff before. Nothing formal, because again, I don't have education in screenwriting, but I've written movies and stories and like scripts and stuff like that just for fun. And like one of them was a horror story that was kind of in the vein of like Wrong Turn and Texas Chainsaw. And a lot of people loved it that read it. So, I mean, I would love to write if I had an opportunity to do that. I think I could come up with some really cool ideas for horror movies, especially some of the shit that we see today. So I would love to do that. Would it ever happen? Probably not. Like I said, I don't have an education in it, and it's hard enough for people to get out in that industry who are all over the place in Hollywood. But that's a good question. Alexander asks, what is the next album review you're going to put out? Well, we were already talking about Seether, and Seether's got a new album coming out in the beginning of May called Poison the Parish, and that's going to be my next album review. I don't know of anything else major that's coming out. I wish there was more music out, because I would love to do more album reviews. I have a lot of fun with those, and people really like them, because both of the ones I've done have got like 3-something thousand views. But there's just not a whole lot. Like, rock music and metal music is just so slow nowadays. But I'm expecting big things from Seether. So I'll be doing that review. It'll probably be out the week that the album comes out, if not the week before, if I can find a way to listen to it before it's released. And Rich asks one more question. Name your top 5 favorite albums of all time, and how much influence has your father had on your love for music? A ton of influence. Like I said, I mean, my dad was a single parent, so obviously he had a big hand in my movie taste and my music taste. I mean, it's evolved a lot from whenever I've grown up. But a huge influence on my love for music, because my dad's very passionate about music, and it just kind of bled into me. It's what made me get obsessed with albums and get obsessed with artists and memorize every single line of a song and everything like that. Top 5 albums of all time. Metallica's Black Album, probably number 1. I mean, that album is just flawless, and it's such a huge influence for me as a guitarist, a songwriter, all that kind of stuff. Stone Sour is my favorite band of all time, so Audio Secrecy and their House of Golden Bones 2-part album is on that list. Godsmack's Faceless, another album that's just awesome. I wish they would get back to that sound and that attitude and that dynamic, because they kind of got more rock and roll and less metal. But I love that album. And Alter Bridge's Blackbird. That's just a phenomenal album. Start to finish, it's classic. Alter Bridge. It's almost like a greatest hits, because most of their best songs are on that album. And I have the Blackbird from the album tattooed on my arm. So I mean, I love Alter Bridge and that album. So that's my top 5. And I believe that was my last question. So that's the end of that Q&A, guys. Thank you again for being patient with me. I'm sorry it took so long to get this stuff out. It's been a busy couple of weeks. And especially with the success of my channel and just taking off. You guys are awesome for subscribing and for sticking with me and commenting and giving me these awesome questions. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'll do another one whenever I hit 800, which hopefully won't be too long. But thank you guys for your questions. Thank you for watching. Please like and share this video. Hit that subscribe button if this is your first time watching me. And if you want to check out some more of my videos, you can check out a few more by clicking right over here.